Namaskar. We just played this header music because we wanted to tell you that the message is 𝙒𝙧𝙤𝙤 𝙤𝙬. Arise and awake. A lot of us are, wringing our hands. This SB3 has passed the judicial committee. Oh my God, this is going to become the law. Well, there are many more steps. There are many ways in which this can be changed. And what are these things? What are the different methods available to us? All this stuff, Sri Narasimhan has put in several hours doing the research, understanding California state law as well as federal law. We're going to have a quick discussion with him on how he sees this progress. And I want all of you to watch this thing because this is important to know. It is important to know how lawmaking happens. Without further ado, I'd like to invite Sri Narasimhan. Sri, namaskar and welcome to PGurus channel.
Namaste, namaskaram to all the PGuru viewers.
Sri, this has been, it's been going at a tremendous speed without giving time for people to even look at it, to understand the implication, and then making last minute changes at the nth hour and not sharing it. So it is illegal at so many levels. Yet 11-0 Senate Judiciary Committee of California, including 2 Republicans, have decided to vote for the SB 403. Never mind the fact that 4:1, there was opposition. People have written, people have spoken, people have called in saying that this is racial, inherently racial, that there is enough coverage in the United States Constitution in its current form. Why are the Wahhabi elements still trying to force this down the throat of the Hindu Americans? That is a bigger question. But more than that, Sri, kind of walk us through what happens next. How are the different processes going to play out, and where you think the Hindu Americans can register their opposition, protest, tweaks, what have you?
Sri, you asked me a whole lot of questions. And I think a better way to look at it is in an upstream and downstream metaphor. Right? What we are experiencing and seeing, hearing, feeling is extreme downstream situation. So imagine, you're an ant on a leaf and you're just humming along a river. It's just calm, but you don't know there's a waterfall out there. And then you go down the waterfall, you're still grabbing to your leaf. And then that's what we are experiencing right now, right? But the planning has happened much upstream. The script has been written way early in the life cycle. And, to understand the experiences in the downstream, you got to understand the experiences in upstream, really. That's how I would frame this. Otherwise, it's a very complex and murky backroom machinations that we don't see. Nobody is going to tell you the details of that. But one way to arm yourself is to understand how this political beast works, what feeds the beast, and where does it get its high on, right? Once you understand that, your understanding of the problem becomes clearer, and any solution options or mitigations may come to you. We don't have all the answers, but I would first stress and put the spotlight on understanding the upstream quote unquote problems.
Okay, sir. And I think you have a quick PowerPoint presentation that you would like to share with our viewers about what is upstream, what is downstream, and how the flow happens. Take it away, sir.
Okay. Thank you. So one way to, peel the onion is to just look at what's on the surface and then try to slice this political machine vertically and then try to figure out, how are these various interest groups, action committees, teams, how are they all connected, interlinked? In this case, I will just say that how closely is team A linked to its controllers B, right? It's that simple. So you can mix and match, swap all of these things. Right now it's Equality Labs, and then it's got the puppet masters, secret puppet masters, right? So um, how closely is any toolkit linked with any puppet master, right? That's how I would look at it. So one easy way to do this is to follow the money. So you look at who is donating where, what are those entities, and what ideas are they donating towards, and how does this entire chorus, a very neatly organized symphonic chorus, orchestrates and operates, right? Just 3 steps to this at a very high level. It's much more complex than these 3 steps, but at the surface, upstream, this is what happens, right? Formulation of your point of view, and then identifying those areas to influence, those teams to influence, those endpoints to influence. And how does that influencing actually takes place? It is through orchestration. America is a large country. There are various interest groups, not only business groups, but there are civic groups, social groups, community groups, unions, and then there's also international influencers. If people are really interested in knowing all of the details of this, feel free to go to 2 websites, opensecrets.org and then influencewatch.org, right? These are the 2 places where you can just go to town investigating on your own. So a brief look back, we're going to do this for both political giants here in the US, the Democrats and the Republicans. First, we'll look at the Democrats and what prompted them to ideate and create this machine. Political lobbying and contributions have happened since time immemorial, influencing, of course. But the most recent setback for the Democrats was during the Bush election and then later in the Trump election. I'm just giving you facts, right? These are just a series of facts. And then one side says, we are the good guys, right? And then a bunch of folks with means come together. And I've given you the list of these. You can read it on your own. It's like literally like the who is who funders of the Democratic Party, right from Soros to Annie Casey Reynolds, Novo Foundation, Bill Gates, Lucille Packard, Ford Foundation, so on. You can read it on your own. And this is the top of the funnel, so as to speak. This is where the money comes in and the formulation machine starts running. Funnily enough, on the Republican side, it's the same thing, right? It's a mirror image. You have the 1992 Clinton election where Bush Sr. Was defeated in the re-election, and then 8 years of Clinton followed, and then 2008 Obama came in, and then 8 years of Obama, right? Now the Republicans are saying no, we are the good guys, right? And then a whole bunch of chorus joins in to donate money. You can read this again yourself. It's again a who is who on this side. Peter Thiel, Schwartzman, Ellison, Schwab, and so on and so forth. Sheldon Adelson, Koch Industries, right? The Koch brothers. So that's the setup on this side. That's at the top level. But digging deeper, going to the next layer of the onion, how does anything happen? And anything has an asterisk, right? It's the wild card. You can put lobbying there, policy there, campaigns there, elections there, protests there, media, marketing. How does anything happen? Right from the national level, all the way to the local level, you will be surprised. We saw the state level assembly and senate. Then we have seen the local body elections, Seattle City Council, ordinances, Toronto, so on and so forth. Even local, you can go to your local mayor elections, right, in Fremont, or even local, you can go to school board elections. You will be surprised, Sri Ayarji, the amount of politicking that happens in simple school board elections, right? So this is how it kind of percolates top down. And every fish at the bottom level wants to go to the next level. So a school board guy is really looking to go to the city council. City council guy wants to be an assemblyman. Assemblyman wants to be a state senator. State senator wants to be a lieutenant governor or a governor. A governor wants to be somewhere down the road it wants to be a minister, rather a secretary in the U.S. Administration at some point, right? And all the way down to the presidency, right? Up to the presidency, rather. Looking at this, any questions so far?
No. If you could just pick up the pace a little bit,
Okay.
we are, I think, running a little bit low. We have a fair amount of slides to go through.
Okay. Yes. So here is the double click. If you do an X-ray of these three layers, this is what you'll see. You'll see in the policy formulation level, donors, secret clubs, policy forums, they all come together and they decide what to do, right? And then the money flows through in a separate channel, and there is a separate layer to orchestrate the money. And this layer is the most critical piece in this whole operation, right? It's like, how does the money flow and gets washed, rinsed, laundered, so that the origin of the money remains nebulous at best, right? So that's the funding of orchestration, and we'll go through that in a few minutes. Then you have the financing operations. That's where, then once the money is washed, it goes down into various venture funds. So when you see venture funds out there that are funding, say, social causes or even defense tech or something that's quasi-political politics related, this is where the money is coming from, right? Some of these are actively involved in election lobbying at the local level, right? So most of these are for-profits, but they are a spend-through. They just spend, they don't make money. And it feeds into what we know in India as the Andolan ecosystem.
Just 1 second. I want to apply the concepts here to a real life example. Remember, I had done a video on new media ventures. Now, can we get back the slide, please? I'll walk you through what really happened here so that you have a real life example. New media venture is the venture funds. It has funded many social causes such as Equality Lab. New media venture is filled with people in the Obama administration or people in the Democratic Party. So there is no doubt, there is no obfuscation here. That is very clear. The middleman pass-through, Sri will explain to us which was the company that was a pass-through company. And on top of that, you have the donors. He already told you about the donors such as Soros and XYZ for Democrats and Koch Industry and XYZ for the Republicans. So I just wanted to kind of give you guys how this thing flows. Equality Labs is not the first time it has happened. It is just that Indian Americans are now suddenly seeing the blast come at them. You should wear it with pride because this is a badge of acceptance, badge of honor that the rest of the communities are now getting a little jealous of the growth of the Indian Hindu American. Go ahead, sir.
Thanks, Sri, for summarizing that and giving direction. So if you look at what's important here is to understand what dark money is, right? I've actually taken an infographic from opensecrets.org out there. That's exactly how they actually say money is washed, and see how complex it is. The purpose of this is to basically get attract grants and money from anonymous sources, obscure the source, wash the nonprofit into political spending, and somehow use that political spending to sway policy, geopolitics, and elections. You guys can go to the link and actually see and read for yourself. Going into the formulation piece, I had those 9 boxes there. The direct donors, this could be wealthy folks, this could be foundations, this could be covert agencies, 3 letters, 4 letters, nation states, you know them. It's being talked about here. All of this goes through, and then it goes through a filter of closed clubs. These are invite-only clubs where the membership fees are really high. They come together to basically coordinate amongst various individual or institutional asks. See, because the Democrat Party in post-2004 elections, when they lost, they came back together and they were really appreciative of the Republicans and their machine, because Karl Rove, as you know, had created that other one. And they said, we are spending the same amount of money, but we are not getting the desired effects. How do we do this better? And they did one better than the Republicans. And that was you can say, start of an organized closed club synchronization or orchestration, right? That's where the policy formulations takes place. So all your efforts are focused on the top 5 or top 10 policy requests from one side, right? The policy forums are basically think tanks. They are think tanks that come from various areas of the spectrum. This is where, the policy staffers of elected administration officials actually cycle through. It's their revolving door. The policy forums like Brookings, CAP, Carnegie, Cato, all of these guys, Heritage, Rand, so on, they represent various thoughts that come from actual experts, right? And then this is the place where you can use data to manufacture your own story, right? You do that, and it's a healthy argument and a conversation that takes place that bubbles up into talking points for the folks who aspire to be candidates in various positions in the government. Okay. Orchestration is where the actual money flow takes place. 4, 5, 6. There are offshore tax havens of these wealthy individuals that take shelter from American tax laws. This is something I was shocked, actually. Of course, you kind of assume something is happening, but the more I looked at it, it was money that is parked outside expressly to bring in at a time and a place of your choosing inside the US, right? It's like a parking lot. So in this parking lot, now you can think about parking lots, right? We know where Indian black money is stored. It's funnily in the same places where American black money is stored. Do you think, or don't you think, commingling of funds can take place? You name your favorite parties in India, your favorite folks that are featured in the Panama Papers. Where do you think the money is going? It's either round-tripping back to India as foreign investment, or it's turning back and coming here and influencing Western press, media, whatever, right? Number 5, here is something very interesting, right? Donor-advised funds. From the parking lot, it's moved to a middle house where money is held just like any savings account, right? Your 529 holding accounts, your treasury security, so that it doesn't lose its value, but it's available readily when you need it. So these are donor advised funds that are just kept until the need comes to intermix the funds and wash them. So just think about it as funds that are facilitating in the next step, which is number 6, the pass-through and dark money orchestration, right? So a nonprofit will collect the funds from donors, right? And it may pass through to other nonprofits. So this mixing and matching and interworking, basically intermixing, really makes it hard for anybody to trace the money back to the source. And this is not just one level. There are sub-levels to dark money orchestration, which that infographic captured very neatly. And this is done by both sides, right? Any questions here? Okay.
All good, all good, all good.
So operation, this is where actually, when you say boots on the ground, the last mile, this is where the last mile starts kicking. You have non-profit incubators and venture funds, just like a Y Combinator for tech startups. They have a bunch of incubators for activism, protests, social causes. Some are really on the up and up, and some are not, right? And it's very difficult to tell it apart because they use the same words, similar looking marketing. The marketing in this, the design, the marketing, the showcasing of protests is I think, a big change in the last 10 years. With the advent of social media, it's like the perfect combination, right? It's the perfect storm of conflation. You can easily take a meme from one place, put a headline on the other place, slap something else, and boom, you can create or conflate a nuanced situation into very simplistic terms and label it in such a way that it evokes an emotion from you, right? One of the things that we saw classically done in the Bush administration is, you had two marketing slogans. One was "No Child Left Behind," right? So it had "No Child Left Behind," but everything that policy and that ordinance did was leave all the kids behind. It was basically to get private players into government spending flow in terms of setting up education. Same thing with mission accomplished. The mission was not accomplished, but then you had a big poster saying mission accomplished, right? That's the name of the game. In this day and age of social media, digital media, we barely have 10 or 15 seconds of attention. How do you capture a detailed, complex argument into 3 or 4 words and just push it ad nauseum so it creates an impression? The caste discrimination bill, for example, is not against caste discrimination. If you actually read it, it's institutionalizing caste discrimination, if you look at it. It's just weird in the way in which things work antithetically if presented right. Anyway, activism and then down to protest in a box. Believe it or not, there are protests and protest teams on hire. Just like you order DoorDash, you'll order a pizza, go to Flipkart, you order something. You can actually go to these sites and basically pick up the phone or say, I want 10 people holding 10 cards and I'll pay this much and this is what you do. Please meet up here, right? There might be WhatsApp groups, Instagram groups, whatever, Snapchat groups, to assemble a ready crowd at a time of your choosing, right? And then this ecosystem is where it comes to the bottom of the pyramid. And those are the effects that we are actually seeing. So everything that we are doing is railing against 9, right? Number 9. We are like, we don't like those guys holding those play cards. Well, do you know 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1? And that is what, is the entire ecosystem. And I've just sliced through it. Horizontally, the ecosystem has a minimum of 10,000 to 50,000 players. And new players come in every day. Some of the old ones stay at the top. Okay, I'm just going to go very quickly through this. We know this is on opensecrets.org. The number 1, 5, and 7 are Democratic donors. Number 2, 3, 4, 6 are Republican donors. You can go take a look at it. The number one guy is Soros and his management and his arm, right? He has his own foundation, the Foundation to Promote Open Society, FPOS. People talk about Open Society Foundation, OSF, but the real heart of it is FPOS. You got to Google FPOS and look for FPOS, right? It's basically a progressive foreign policy and national security, immigration, criminal justice, so on and so forth. Foreign policy is actually in their objective, right? Just think about it. One country saying that foreign policy activism is actually part of their goal. The 𝙦𝙬 Foundation it's basically a donor advised fund for left-leaning causes. There are similar funds on the right. It's a savings account pass-through. We talked about it, pooled piggy bank. The links are out there. Go take a look at it. This one is a complex set of washing machine, right? It's basically the next gen washing machine for donated money. 𝙦𝙬 itself has
one question, Sri. See, you go back to the donors. I don't want to change the slide. I'm just asking you, how do the donors reap the benefits of what they sow?
Right. So the donors, they are individuals, institutions, state actors, non-state actors. This is a one-way fund, unless it's an industry-led group, lobbying group, when that happens as well, pharma, auto, and so on. They get elected officials that toe their line, who will then pass, as soon as they come into the administration, they will pass bills or tax laws favorable to the donor party, right? So it's not a stretch of imagination if you think that wealthy businessmen, and you can name your favorite Fortune 100 company, they might be running a foundation, but they may be putting money to get their guy who is on their side of the industry, right? So for instance, this happened recently, right? You had the FCC, and then the FCC basically controls telecommunication and media. And the Republicans wanted one guy to be the chairman of the FCC, right? They'll do everything and anything to get him nominated and elected. And he will, in turn, the revolving door will in turn return the favor by passing laws, promulgating ordinances, and so on and so forth that favors that industry. So this happens all the time. So, yeah.
So if I could just add to what you said, Sri, what ended up happening was, see, today, internet is an infrastructure that was built by companies like AT&T, Comcast, and so on. However, what do we consume over the internet? We consume news, we consume YouTube videos, you consume Netflix videos, we consume Amazon videos. Now, what for the longest time these infrastructure companies were saying is, wait, if you want to watch something like a movie on from Netflix on our infra, you need to pay a little bit more. And this was a pushback. No, sir, no way. We can't distinguish one data stream from the other. We need to have the same rate for everything. That was one side. However, under the Trump administration, they got one guy who actually came in and signed it into law. It was actually an Indian American, Pai something.
Ajit Pai.
And Ajit Pai, right? So what you are going to see is, after some time, you'll start seeing the effects of this, where once Comcast or AT&T have a means to know where you are getting your data stream, then they'll say, well, in your bill, you'll have a breakout that, you watch so much of Netflix videos, this will cost you a little bit more on your internet subscription. That's what they're hoping to do. I don't know when that will get implemented in practice, but this is what happened. I just wanted to give you a real life example of how this thing played out. Please go back, Sri.
Sure. 𝙦𝙬 Foundation is a big player, right? There's something called Democracy Alliance. Okay, I don't have a slide for it right here. Maybe I have a slide later. But Democracy Alliance is actually that policy club, and it's got a huge ecosystem. Go ahead and double click on Democracy Alliance on influencewatch.org, and you'll get all the information. So from all of this, right, 𝙦𝙤𝙤 basically washes this through. It has a huge umbrella of an organization, donor organization, as well as donated organizations. One of them is New Media Ventures. New Media Ventures itself is a non-profit. Now,
Yes.
money comes here. Now you get, just like any startup, guys like Shark Tank, right? Go pitch to New Media Ventures, and they will decide, what the impact is promised and whether that can really happen, and put their money, where these guys, where the teams that come to them are actually presenting. By the way, these are business plans, and business plans always pivot, right? So the team will come with idea A, but New Media Ventures will want it to do idea B, right? Why not?
Happens all the time. Yeah.
So they are incubating activism via non-profit vehicles. What I mean by that is, some of these entities that come in and pitch ideas, they will actually say we are for profit, or they will say we are non-profit, right? Most of the money that gets spent is for-profit organizations. So at the end of the chain here in the hierarchy, you will see folks who are just taking money and spending it. They're not making money. New Media Ventures itself has an arm called NMV Education Fund 501c4. There's a huge difference between C3 and C4. In a C4, you have to declare why that money is being used for, and can't be used for political funding and all of that stuff. But they will kind of wash that, and they will actually put it in a pipeline. And this is actually protest in a box. So see how nonprofit came all the way down and then funded protest in a box, which is really paying folks, $10 an hour, $15 an hour. And that's the way, you see crowds at places.
By the way, don't think that this is applicable only to United States. It is applicable to just about every democracy that I know of, including India. Something similar has already been scripted and has been put into play. So don't think that we are just using an example because it's handy. It's a hot topic today. That's why we are doing all this thing. You can see that Sri has put in enormous number of hours to come up with this presentation. Please like this video, because we would like many more people to watch this video. Thank you so much. Over to you again, Sri.
Okay. At the end of this hierarchy, you have outfits that name themselves something, right? It doesn't have to be true to what they actually do. For instance, this particular outfit basically states that it's against cyber hacking. Okay. It's against something to do with internet quality, quality of content, and so on. But what it does with its money, like I said, they always pivot their business, right? It's a Delaware non-profit, a for-profit. It doesn't have to actually give you the details of how it spends the money, right? Non-profits have higher bar of transparency, whereas for-profits don't. It does what it takes to get attention. I mean, that is their logo. Their logo is that.
Just to add to what Sri just said, Equality Labs is also having multiple other ventures funding them. I believe they have fairly a large amount of employees now. In case you guys are wondering how it is that they appear to be here, there, everywhere, and they are essentially working the phones, creating issues that don't exist, and then coming back and saying we have the solutions for these issues. So this is the thing: you create a problem, you create a problem, you try to define it, try to legislate for it, and then come up and say, oh well, we have the solution for this. That's how they make the money. Already they have been thrown out of many corporations in the Silicon Valley. I want you also remember this also. Sri, please continue.
Yeah, so they are outside agencies. These outfits work with city council elected members, the so-called, bodies that sit behind a large desk, right? Insiders, senators, assemblymen. And these are now pieces on the board. Seattle City Council, California Senate, whoever else comes down, they're just pieces on a board. Here is the thing that we really need to realize. These elected folks are not talking to these startup outfits out of charity. They are being told to do that. You asked me at the beginning of the show, why is it 11-0? 11-0 on a California SB 403, where 9 were Democrats and 2 were Republicans. How did that happen? That was a foregone conclusion. And the reason it was a foregone conclusion was because if I just tell you something, Gavin Newsom is the governor of California. The lieutenant governor is 𝙒𝙧𝙤𝙪𝙥𝙥. I hope I pronounced her name right. Eleni used to be the US ambassador to Hungary in 2010 to 2013. And Soros has been banned. Soros is from Hungary, by the way. And he's been banned. His organizations have been banned in Hungary by Viktor Orban. And Soros' stated mission, live, he has said it, is to squash nationalism in whichever way he finds it. Eleni was there. Eleni in November was nominated as the International Affairs and Trades Secretary of California. Even though she's a lieutenant governor, she has been given plenipotentiary powers to do trade with international trade and have her say in it. Yes, go ahead.
Sri, one other thing I wanted to tell our viewers is nobody would have known that Soros is funding Equality Labs except for the fact that he himself said it. He said it is my avowed, commitment to do this thing. If it is him saying it, otherwise we would have never known. There are so many layers of obfuscation here. So it also tells us that there is a sense of desperation also. The more they throw mud at or try to throw mud at Modi, the more the people want to elect him again. So this is something that they are not able to understand. They dislodged Bibi Netanyahu. They dislodged other players. You are seeing what had happened in other democracies also. Lulu is back in Brazil. Bolsonaro is out. Lulu is back. But for some reason in India, it is not working. So that's why you're seeing a little bit more desperation. Let's try a different tack. Let us try to label all these people who are solidly behind Modi, who live in United States. Let us see how they can be put to some arm twisting. That's what I see. That's how I see it. Please continue, Sri.
Sure. 2 other things I really want to share with everybody is, do you know that California is the 4th as a state, if you just carve it as a country, is the 4th largest economy in the world?
Yes. It used to be 6th. It has gone up
Just
2 places
think
because
about that.
UK and France have fallen, I guess.
$3.37 trillion of the economy is sourced out of California. Eleni, on April 25th, last week, while that vote was going on, declared herself as the 2026 governor candidate of California. So if I'm a senator or an assemblyman in the state of California, and on the same day, I have somebody making an announcement in a democratic state, and I have something here that basically order has come down saying, hey, boss, just vote yes. Who am I if my name is Eric Min or Niello or whoever, right? What in the world? Why would I lodge a token protest?
Are we done with the presentation?
My election fund will be stopped, by the way.
Sorry, you finished that line again. Are we done with the presentation? We can put it back if you want.
Let's just go check that and see whether that's the last slide. I think I stopped it here. I have some more, but it's material for the next conversation. I just wanted to show this one last slide. How did it come to this, right? We have 40 senators, 32 Dems, 8 GOP. On the assembly side, out of 80 assemblymen, we have 62 Democrats and 18 Republicans. But the committee, right, the Senate committee itself had 11 people, 9 versus 2. Now, the naive question is, oh my God, what happened here? I need to know how the system works. But really, the real question is, how does the ecosystem work? Yeah, this is the...
Also, look at the arrow. Go back. It's a very subtle arrow that he has put. You know what happened? The pulpit where you stand to declare yes or no is the person, the last thing he sees or he or she sees is the state senator, Wahhabi, and the vote yes, which is what she is saying, right? So there is a subliminal messaging being told to you. Are you really saying you're going to say no? Don't you see that everybody is saying yes? We are all, visually screaming yes. Why are you still wanting to do no? This is the messaging that is being attempted.
Actually, Equality Lab members were sitting in the front row, sir.
Oh, yeah. You can see the diva, soprano, sitting right in the left.
So this is the operation. This is how it's done. What next? I think there's a lot of other information we can share later. But I think understanding the system and the way it works is really important for any community that wishes to have its voice heard. You have the AJC, American Jewish Council. Then you have the Anti-Defamation League. If a certain party is defamed, you have to understand how to resist it, right? Not just walk away, but to use the system to actually present your case and present it in a very simple manner. You don't have to, obfuscate and complicate things, but you got to, be able to present it very effectively. And that's the beauty about this country. Anybody can pick a megaphone and simply state their point of view and be persistent. Even, Martin Luther King was able to get his message out after centuries of slavery, right? And he said, I envision a house on the top of a hill where it's going to be like this. And that's the way, you have to come out and you have to present your case.
How Martin Luther King became popular is an entirely different story, very interesting one. We'll talk about it in a different time and date. How he first got the traction in a particular city, that's a different story. Let's go back to this presentation.
I can stop it here, sir. I can stop it here and we can take questions. I know I have some more details. This has been already a long show. I just want to make sure that people's attention are not...
Let's take the questions from our viewers now. Nitin Jain wants to know, what do you think would be the best way to fight against non-traditional actors under the umbrella of fake NGOs, ranking institutes, news channels try to damage Bharat?
Man, great question, by the way, Nitin. This is actually on everybody's minds, right? And Nitin, I believe this is from an Indian point of view. So one of the things about colonialism is that we have been given, for the good or for bad, a gift of the English language, gift. And that gift has connected us to all the English-speaking countries. And our ears are tuned to what those guys are saying about us, right? So in a way, we are on diametrically opposite sides of the globe, and we should not be connected, yet we are connected, right? The US and the India polity. So I feel that one of the ways to do is to tune off what people are saying about us, develop a thick skin and just do your thing. Put your heads down and just try to understand who you are first and be able to define for yourself your own identity. It's right there. Cut out all the noise and खुद की उद्धार करो, और जगत के उद्धार बाद में करेंगे. खुद की उद्धार करो. Understand, follow 𝙤𝙬𝙤𝙬, Anand Ranganathan, folks who basically show a mirror to who we are and who we can be, because that's what we are, right? And then I would say follow, PGurus, of course, and follow a few channels, right? You have Jaipur Dialogues, Alternate Media, then you have Vijay Patel, Vijay Gajera, Hawkeye. These guys are doing a fantastic job of, shining the spotlight and forcing the administration to take a hard look at influence at an international scale.
Next question, please. Arindam Ghatak wants to know how to stop this funding. His money, his place.
The nexus between politics and money are going to be there. We have to just accept it. All right. We can be smart about creating transparency. Once you create the transparency, you know who is giving money to who. In the US, the laws changed in 2010. It was called Citizens United, where unlimited amount of money could be given by organizations and individuals to unlimited people. And that's why we have seen almost the productization, what I call as PNG-fication, Procter and Gamble-fication of political influence. And thankfully, in India, we don't have it at the industrial scale. So we have the opportunity to learn. And as we grow up the growth path, where India is in a tearing hurry, we should at least try to regulate the mechanism of how not only foreign money, but also Indian money is used to change Indian political policies and decisions. Money and politics, I don't know if anybody has found the silver bullet to actually separate them.
Also, viewers, look at what is happening in Punjab today. Amritpal Singh is arrested. Not even a cycle was burnt. So something happened there which essentially prevented from this protest for higher ecosystem from coming to life. So Indian intelligence agencies really found some way to stop all that nonsense. The real people don't care about this guy. That's what has come out. Same way, yesterday, 14 apps, Snapchat has been put back on the list. So only 14 apps have been banned in the state of Jammu and Kashmir. Why? There's a G20 summit meeting going to go sometime during the next couple of weeks. So they want to create the foundation so that all the messaging, stone throwing, or something else that people may attempt, everything is dissuaded. So that is happening now. So the Indian government also is not using the same tactic at every situation. They are also changing the game strategy. Of course, the opposition will also try and morph, but this is something that you should be aware of. First of all, check independent sites like PGurus to understand where the truth is. That is what is our compass. We point towards the truth. Go ahead.
Yeah, something to add there. So there is influencing going on in the US, right? Contained within the US. There's influencing going on in India, contained in India. Then there are countries trying to influence from each other from the outside, right? One question, let me just give you order of magnitude. India has spent only $1 million since 2016 to influence anything in the US. 1 million. But if you collectively look at the total funding that the US political establishment has received from foreign countries and non-state actors, it runs into tens of billions, maybe hundreds of billions of dollars since 2016. And if you go to 2000, you know where the money came from, the Middle East, right, to influence US elections. So I would say it's 3 or 4 orders of magnitude of influencing that's going on, and we are just late to this game. I don't think we need to spend the money from India, but I think folks here in the US need to get their voice heard, and there are many ways to do it. You just need to organize.
Bubble wants to know, why are capitalists like Soros, Ford, Gates, etc. funding neo-progressive policies? Do they really want to bring in socialism in the United States? Socialists like Kshama Sawant openly attack capitalism.
There's a lot of dimensions to this question. You know, you have to do your homework. That's what I will say. The stated goal of Soros Foundation, I'm talking about the stated goal, is to fight nationalism in whichever way they find it. Unfortunately, what has happened is a conflation of the English word called nationalism to the Bharatiya context of coming out of 8 centuries of foreign rule, colonial rule. Is that nationalism the way the West describes it? I don't think so. I think that quest of coming out of a civilizational trauma is totally something else, and we have failed to tell that story and reduce it into one word or two words to counter this. I'll just take one more minute, and I want to. This is my point of view that I have shared with Rajiv Mantriji, and he wrote the book, The New Idea of India, okay, and with Harsh Madhusudan Gupta. So here, the way the West describes India and the way India presents itself is totally at odds. The West looks at the political spectrum as left versus right. Right? They have a strictly Abrahamic point of view, straight line, left and right. Right? Whereas India, it's funny, Shrisa, the more I look at it, the so-called Indian right, according to the West, right, is left of the Western left. Okay, let me just say that again. The so-called Indian right that clowns repeat all the time is anything but that. It is to the left of the American left. Okay, how do I say that? Why do I make that assertion? It's because if you look at the Indic thought, the Sanatana Dharma thought, the thought is at a society level and then at a productive level, right? At the society level, the architecture of the governed and the governing, the king and his subject, the administration versus those who are administered, is always tends towards equitable for everybody to be happy in a country, Ram Rajya, so as to speak, right? Nobody has any qualms about anything, right? Isn't that socialism, right? And then if you look at the productivity aspect of it, if you look at do your best, leave the rest, right? Karmanyavadikaraste ma phalesu kadachana. You are now saying that do your thing, do your duty, leave the results to the supreme consciousness. There, what you have is an orientation of productivity towards a central goal, and it's a spiritual goal, right? So artisans and artists, the original folks who actually made stuff with their hands, created items of extreme beauty and exquisite output in the service of the Lord, in the service of temples, in the service of the community. So goods from India at some point pre-1700s were mind-blowingly amazing. Isn't that capitalism? Right? So, we haven't been able to tell the story in the way it should be told in the language. Obviously, it's not Sanskrit. It is English, and it's staccato. So you need to be able to tell a continuous story of how the world is connected into this straight line that we sometimes get labeled. And I think sorry I took some time here, but we need to be able to say that really, really succinctly.
Yes, indeed. Let's take this, the last but one question. One more question after this, and we'll call it quits. Shreyastha Samal wants to know, then what is the possibility of honest people who need money to do real work actually being granted to them or not?
Yeah, no, I didn't say that all money that goes into non-profits actually end up in for-profits, right? I didn't say that. I said there is an orchestration of certain non-profits into certain for-profits. So there's always money for genuine non-profits, and you just need to go look at it and find the source of the funds, right? There are databases, at least in the US, to find the source of funds, and then look at what other non-profits these outfits have funded, and you will get a sense. You'll have to do some hard work. You need the money, right? You'll have to do some hard work.
Last question, please. Raghunandan wants to know, Sri sir, I'm seeing same trend. What happened to Native Americans is happening to Hindus. Hindus are going to be marginalized in America. Your view on it?
I think, do you have a point of view here, sir?
You finish, I'll tell you what my point of view is.
This is basically smashing a bunch of timelines, right? I would say that the era that we are in the world of connected social media, digital social media, it makes it easy for advocacy. Okay. So if social media was available when Native Americans were sequestered in reservations and the world was receptive to their message, we could have found a way to get their message out, right? I think what's happening here is, let me characterize this as something else. And 𝙒𝙬𝙤𝙤 Chakravarti-ji, in a couple of his conversations, has actually laid this very clearly. 𝙒𝙬𝙤 Chakravarti, as you know, heads Hindu Action.
Hindu Act. Yeah.
And there are a couple of his conversations, if I remember right. There's one he did with Suresh Krishnaswamy-ji and Sudha Jagannathan, I believe, on Kona. And there is one he did recently,
Vibhuti Jha, right?
Vibhuti Jha-ji on the Jaipur Dialogues USA. Please go and listen to those conversations. That's all I'll say.
Also, there is some interesting dynamics at work from what I am hearing from Washington, D.C. guys. The story is that Kamala Harris might not be the vice presidential candidate for 2024, and that it's probably going to be Michelle Obama. If that is true, if my prophecy comes true, expect Kamala to be much more assertive from this point forward. She has got the age behind her. She will start having her own. She'll come out of the shadow. She's been kept quiet. In fact, you can say a lid being put on her, and unfortunately being characterized like something that she's absolutely not. So wait for that. Democrats are not going to see. She has been painted progressive. I don't think she is. She's more dharmic than that. This is my read because I've known the family for some time. So let's wait and see how this plays out. Viewers, if you like this presentation and you'd like to hear more from Sri Narasimhan, you can do us two things. First of all, if you have not subscribed to our channel, subscribe to our channel. Second of all, please share and like this video to all your friends and family, because this is something that affects all 4 million Indian American citizens who are living in the United States. And you need to understand, because this is a template that is being played out. And it doesn't matter whether you are a Republican or a Democrat. You need to understand the process. That's what we are trying to do here. And now you understand why I keep saying I'm an independent, because I've seen both sides. You got to really do more like, at this particular instance, who will best serve my needs, my family needs, my country needs, something like that. That is all I can say. Sri, it was wonderful talking to you today and listening to your presentation. I hope I didn't put you through too much trouble. We have been having multiple iterations of this. So viewers, there's a lot of work that goes behind the scenes. And as I just wanted to point out that Sri has been equal to the task. In fact, he exceeded it. And I'm really tip my hat to you, sir. The choice of colors, the fonts and all that stuff. It's a beautiful presentation. Once again, thank you. Namaskar.
Namaskar.